Hello, my friend, my YouTube friend. Welcome to Simply Draw. I'm Elaine, and today you and I are going to sketch out this blue jay. So you need a scrap piece of paper and a pen, and let's get going. So I want to start here at the forehead, and we'll just do this angle up in the forehead and the top of the head and around to the crest feathers. Come back a little bit underneath his throat and start doing the markings on his face. Take that black down and around. And then there's this black marking that's got quite a curve to it around his eyebrow. And keep your pen away from this white patch here. Let's go in and get this part around his eye done. So we've got this white patch here, and then it goes into slight upper curve and a sharper lower curve for his eyeball. Oh, not that big. And then this black angle feathers here to blend into that. Now for his eyeball, leave 3 white patches where the light is reflecting off his eyeball. I think that eye is too big. This patch here by his bill. And if we just do his feathers here, so let's go out. And back for his bill. Just to keep us a little bit oriented with the markings on his face. So his bill comes back. It's black here, like here, and then on the top of his bill there's more black. Just do some very light shading for the blue on his bill. Okay, and we'll do this for around his eye and the black here. And this is very light blue and a little bit darker. Okay, let's actually not worry so much about all this back here. Let's work down this side. Okay, so there's a short section underneath his throat, and then his back kind of comes out here. Oh, I've changed my mind. Okay, let's worry about those crest feathers here. We can put those in. Now from this patch here, his eye band, there's a short section, and then it goes into this solid black band along here. So let's follow this side of the black. So this is kind of short here, and then it kind of goes out and around and up to his crest feathers. And from this side, comes almost straight down, you guys. follow this down here. It goes into his this big crescent on his chest. Now let's go back up, and we're going to follow the black on this side. So this is the back of his head, and the band kind of comes in at a bit of an angle. It's a little bit wide, and then it gets a little bit narrow, and then it gets a little bit wide. Okay, so see how mine is like way too narrow? I just want to, oops, without hitting the camera, take this out a little bit. And shade yours into, it doesn't have to be shaded really well right now. This is just a way to keep us like oriented in our sketch. Okay, we've done this. Let's do the back of his head. So there's a slight curve out, and then it goes down. So this is the back of his head here. Slight curve, and then take it out and down. See, he's kind of thick through here, right? This is because of the angle. And then, so the bottom of this black band ends lower than this, okay? So what we want is to put this is his shoulder and his other wing. See this little blue patch, you guys? This is his other wing here. And then we've got a sharp angle down on his chest, not too far. Don't take that down too far. And then it curves for his tummy. So I want to get this big black patch in here because it's going to help us stay oriented with the rest of the bird. So we're going to do his throat feathers that kind of curve around because of the way he's got his head turned, and under his throat they curve this way. So just make your lines like that, you guys, to sort of like show how the feathers are kind of like growing in these different directions. And it is white, so try not to go too heavy. So we've got those feathers going this way to show under his chin, and then this part here, these feathers here kind of grow down into his crest. Oh, while we're up here, you guys, how about we just do all these little feathers here? Don't go too dark, but we'll just take that out. Uh-oh, mine's way too fat. Look. See this black patch here? And then it's just, there's not that much blue there. Mine's way too much. So if you've done the same, just cut it in a little bit. And we just want to take this, oops, sorry. Let's try not to cover the reference for you. And he's white here, so let's just do the blue. Down to this is the side of his head, going into his neck and stuff like that. Okay, so are we still in good position? Who knows? Let's do these feathers down like this, and these kind of down like this, because what I want to pay attention to is like this break between his neck and his body, where we've got this distinct blue that takes us out to his shoulder. It's kind of like that. Okay, now how do we want to do this? Because I don't want his crest to be too big. So let's go back to, we've got his back that comes out, and see how, you guys, look, the end of his bill, if we go straight down, it's almost, oh look, a ruler. If we take the edge of his bill and go straight down, see how his wing is on the inside of his bill. So when we do that with our own picture, we know, like, it doesn't matter what sizes you've done or whatever, but you know that his wing has to end inside his bill, if you know what I mean. Oh, maybe I shouldn't have just made his bill larger like that. That looks crappy. Okay. So we got this curve down. Oh, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. What are you doing? This goes down, and then there's this bottom of his wing here. Okay, why did I do that? Oh yeah, duh. I want to come back here. So we're at his throat. I want to follow this blue section of his wing. It goes around on his chest and it comes down here, and then we've got this black feather that shows here underneath and the rest of his wing like that with some, we'll worry about those bands in a second. But now that we've done this, we've got a little bit of blue with his throat. Geez, you guys, I'm trying not to worry. Okay, let's put in this crest. So we're going to start here, and what I want to do is follow the bottom black line. We can always make it bigger if we have to, but just take this down as a dip, and then this curve up is sharper than this one. So we're going to curve up like this, and we hit this blue part right here into his shoulder. And then along the top of this bib, it's pretty much straight. So just do a jagged edge where the different colored feathers are laying on top of the black, and then we'll just do his black bib here. I'm sure yours is way better than mine. Oh man. Yeah, I always tend to worry partway along. But that doesn't make sense. I mean, you don't taste the soup before it's finished cooking. You certainly don't serve it before it's finished cooking. Okay, you guys, let's just do a little bit more with this blue around here and taking it into the side of his head. And while we're here, we can just take up some of this blue here on the side of the head. Stay away from this white around his eye. Don't want to screw that up by coloring it in by mistake. Okay. Now, all right. So, okay, look at this, you guys. This distance from the bottom of his crest, or I don't know, bib, to his tummy, we're just gonna have a look at that, okay? So that distance is this. And if we go from the bottom of the crest up, that hits the bottom of his eye, pretty much. So whatever size your bird is, we know that from the bottom of the bib to his tummy, this distance has to be the same as from here to the bottom of his eye. So I just want to, sorry if I'm fussing, but I think what I want to do is just measure this first here, like that, because I've already got the eye done. That's the bottom of his bib. So from the bottom of the bib here, like I know it's his tummy has to come down like that. Okay? Not that everything that you draw, you have to have your ruler, but we are trying to learn and get better, right? So just using the proportions in the picture just kind of makes sense. So let's just do his tummy, and these feathers are kind of light, but they curve like, and then his leg. Where's his leg? Pretty much underneath his bill. And you can see this kind of like all these feathers at the top of his leg, and then the fluffy bum feathers. Let's go back to underneath his wing. We got fluffy feathers here. I tell you, I've seen, oh, and they curve out. I'm not doing that. Curve yours out, you guys. And in here, and then I'm right here, and we're gonna put in one border for his tail. And then I want to do this here. This is blue, and then we're getting the white feathers underneath his bum. And see, you guys, they come up like close to the top of his leg. Like that. Kind of, sort of. And then there's a little line of other feathers or whatever that you can see here. Now, see this great big fat tail that's actually like curved. I want to do this line for these tail feathers right here. Oh, where does this go? Kind of in here. Oh, what do you know? That's not too bad. And the jays have a big tail, you guys, so if you flare yours a lot or a little, it doesn't matter. This line we're just going to take straight out and not worry too much about the length. Oh, I think mine's too long. Draw this border for the blue feathers in here. Now we're going to go along the bum a little bit, and we're going to section off this part that's black. And, oh, I don't know. I think I did mine too long. I tell you, you guys, everything I draw, it's a monster picture. It ends up being like way bigger than I want it to be. Okay, so this, the black on this side, it's around like this, and we'll put this in here. You know, I like doing these kinds of details because it kind of helps me like stay oriented in the picture with where I am. Not always useful, as you can tell. This line right here, it's just shading between these layers of feathers and these. And the blue markings, it's always the tail feathers that you find, yeah? Okay, let's just curve this around and in and up, and there's some other feathers here that are black. It's been kind of hard. I did this, you guys, I did my blue way too dark here. So don't do that, because we need to distinguish between the black and the blue. Kind of got carried away. Okay. Where to next? Okay, so we've got his little shoulder, like this section of blue here for his wing. And this isn't too bad. We'll just take this blue up a little bit more. And we want to curve around here. Should we tackle the feet? Let's do that. So if we use this black marking on his face as a guide, when we come down here, we're basically the back part of his foot, and we've got a great big claw that comes out and around here. We can color that black because it's actually in shadow. Now, for his foot, I don't know for sure, but what I think is that the birds have a whole bunch of padding on the bottom of their feet to actually feel what they're perched on. See, this is all his foot, and this is a toe here, and then there's another toe here, and a claw, and then there's another toe here. So it's kind of all like a big mess, you guys. So we're good at drawing big messes. We'll just get some things in that kind of look like toes, and draw the claw coming out of the top of the toe. These huge talons. And then this is all kind of, there's white patches and black patches and gray where there's the tissue. I don't know, it's kind of like a big confusing mess for me to try to understand with my brain. But bottom line is, it's in his foot underneath him is going to be in shadow. The other part that's visible is either going to be black because of the coloring, or have the light reflected off it. Okay, it's enough dicking around with this one. Let's try to get this leg done. So this angle, oh, you know what? Look at this distance here. I don't know if mine's enough. Make his leg thin, you guys, because it's actually fat, so you can thicken it up later. But if you make a mistake by doing the leg too thick at first, like on a little songbird or something, when they actually have like very skinny little legs, then there's no going back. Let's do this claw here. This back toe, you guys, it's blending in with the bark. You can only see a little bit of it. So just here, just do like a little bit, because this toe is curving around the branch. And this is all the bottom of his foot. I got myself in trouble. I want to do this long toe here. And then the bottom is of his foot with all the padding and all the bumps. And then the claw coming out of the top of his toe. So hard drawing a curve, my goodness. Okay. So once again, with his leg, there's these white bands of well, I don't know, growth rings. Well, his foot is not solid black, okay? So just as long as you leave some spaces, I think that's going to be okay, right? This is a piece of bark that's blocking his foot. So let's guess what it looks like there. In this claw. Okay, gosh darn it, let's get our branch in. Kind of curves down and goes through his foot and then comes out this way, goes this way, this. Oh, passes closer to his chest and up like this. Okay. Is it? I don't know. Let's fix them up a little bit. So just pick a point and we'll just get some more like shading in and some contrast and start working them up, right? I'm gonna blur out this border on his bib where the other feathers are kind of like coming across. Darken up the blue a little bit. Now this section, I just want to kind of make a little bit wider on mine. Make it narrow a little bit. Sometimes, like when I'm like this, I think, oh my God, there's like so much to do. Where do I start? And then I'm just kind of like meandering all over the sketch, which isn't exactly productive. So let's be methodical. Let's start at the top. Do you guys like the angle that you've got for the forehead? I'm bumping mine up a little bit. And let's do some of the darker blue. Not a lot, okay? Because there's the pale blue and there's also white. So let's fix this up, this white patch around his eye. Darken the black. And actually this section around his eye, my black section needs to be a little smidge bigger. Let's go back and do this black band, darken the band over his bill, beak, whatever. And then we've got some of the blue feathers, a little bit of white, blue around his face, black on his bill. I shouldn't have done this piece. Oh, sorry, I think I hit the camera again. I shouldn't have done this right here, you guys. That was a boo-boo. way too big. Okay, now let's add this very faint bit of blue above the eyeball. We're just putting in a couple of these other feathers. Good. If you're happy with the black band that you've got around the side of his head, then just keep moving down your picture and just work over each section. Hopefully my fingers aren't in the way. Just a little bit of contrast around his eye. I drew this eyeball on my picture. It's like, I think it's too big. And the black patch that leads into the eye. Make sure you've got that nice and dark. Coloring in the white. Okay, good, 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 good. And just sort of fill in a little bit more underneath his throat and some of these patches here that go down. Blend into that. And let's shade in this blue, the back of his head, this curve here. So it just shows the different tones of blue that are at the back of his head compared to like the side. Okay. It's hard to get the difference between the black and the different shades of blue, right? But anyway, now this is his blue wing, and I think oh, you know what? In looking at mine, I'm actually going to take his bib down a little bit further. Oh, I know, that's going to screw up my proportions. Now, let's just very carefully shade in this gray, because actually there's quite a bit of gray on the J's. And this is the curve of his tummy. So we've got to make sure and see where the white patch ends, like before his foot. So we just take our gray like this, and a little bit lighter under his bib, but lighter under his bib, please. And then this white patch on his tummy, and then we're gonna go like with a little bit heavier gray to, this is actually the curve of his chest. I'll get this down in here. And the gray goes all the way to the underneath, you guys, so try to get that there. And then it kind of fluffs out here to these, and you can see some of his leg through that. Now, if you've left the leg a little bit too thin, kind of like I have, you can just change that sizing here. And let's follow this gray patch. And some loose feathers underneath his tummy. Darken up the gray. And then take it to the back here. It's a little bit of shading, very, very slight underneath. He's got quite a white bum, so we just want to make sure that we don't do too much with that. I want to get more gray in along this part here. It leads up to his wing. I think my white patch is a little bit big on his chest. I'm going to take that in a little bit. Just give him some contour. Okay, now let's put some nice, we want to go nice and dark with this blue on his back, you guys, for two reasons. One, it's in shadow, so it's dark, and it's going to give us a nice contrast between his back and his throat, which, you know, emphasizes the turn in his head. So take that section fairly dark there, and let's just keep going with the blue of his wing. Don't get too carried away, because we got to do lighten it up a little bit, and we got to do this band here. What we could do is some very slight black feather tips that he's got there, and then another band of the black tips on the feathers. And then we'll leave some for that band of white, and then we've got more black. And then the distinctive feathers themselves. It's a little touch of black where the wing is actually folded, and there's black feathers and stuff. Okay, so just let's have the rest of this like nice and light. Leave this band of white though. Okay, and then just kind of even out the coloring, but just don't get too carried away and make everything like too dark. So there's like lots of different shades of blue to them. Okay, is it time for an assessment? I'm too scared. Okay, you guys, see how this is a small space between the bottom of his bill and his back? It's because of the way his head is turned toward us and his back is disappearing here. So in your own sketch, make sure that it's a short distance between the bottom of his bill and his back, because this is what gives the impression of his head being turned. And I think mine is a little bit too big. So there's that. Why don't we just darken up his other shoulder a little bit, where his wing is? I don't like this angle here. I think it's just, it should have come in a little bit sharper, because this is like pretty sharp here, and then there's a curve of his tummy. I don't know, he's not horrible. How does yours look? Is there anything else that we should be like messing around with to make him better? To show him to my, I still think, you guys, how's your band on his? I still think mine looks a little bit too narrow. It's always fun just doing the dark. Oh, we didn't do much with the crest feathers. Should we bump them out a little bit more? Maybe. Okay, enough chatting. Let's get back to work. Do you like the angle of the forehead and the curve of your head, you guys? Because you got to be happy with this. This really gives the attitude of the bird. So if you don't like that, fix it. The bill is big on the blue jay. So if you didn't take it out far enough, bump it out a little bit more. He's fuzzy, little, fluffy, flippin' little hairy birdie. So let's make sure you put in all this little mess of feathers underneath his throat and around his bill. This black of his bill, take it into his face. Like that. Maybe just some careful little shading around the top of his eye and underneath. Not much, okay? Because you don't want to lose the white. Do you like the curve that you've got on the back of his head? Check that. This blend of blue into his shoulder. Change that angle. Like I'm changing mine. Oh, and I've kind of lost the distinction with his. Now, his bib, if you like his bib, great. If not, just go over it again. It's not even, all right? Don't make it even. This side has a sharper curve than this side. And then we've got this very faint layer of bluish feathers that are blending into the bib. I'm gonna add those. Okay, moving down the birdie. Do you like the different tones of gray that you've used to capture the curve of his chest? We're going for contrast, and there's like basically 3 different shades. There's kind of like a very pale gray, and then there's the darker gray where he's actually curving in, and then the curve of his body, and then it comes out a little bit more where it's lighter. I want to have a sharper contrast in mind, you guys. So just, if you've done this, great. If not, just bump up the color, bump up the gray a little bit to distinguish these gray feathers from his bum. We want to have a little bit more, well, not that much more. Jeepers, come on. It's like shading where his leg goes into his body. Don't do that. That's not right. And then under his tail feathers, there's a little bit of contrast with the curve of his tail feathers. Not much. I've screwed up my tail. Hopefully you haven't. Just put in a little bit of shading. This part is supposed to be blue. I put it too dark. This is the black, you know, you've probably found blue jay feathers on the ground, you know how they look. And then the black tips of his tail feathers. I don't know. Feet aren't too bad. I don't know, you guys. I think he's, you know what? Flippin' not too shabby. Oh, see? My gosh, my pen, I'm getting too enthusiastic. If you like his wing, I'm gonna, oh, see how this is a small distance and mine's too big, taking it down too far. Take this section in and then this. I'm gonna stop. Bet you're happy. Okay, thank you so much for your company. I think it was great. Oh, you know what? This is like totally fun. Let's just like do in the branch a little bit. I like doing this kind of stuff. Let's scribble around our blue jay. Look at all this interesting bark that we can draw. Simply draw. There. Now it doesn't look like he's sitting on a pool noodle. Okay. You guys rock. Thank you so much for your company. I've enjoyed myself. I hope you've learned something. Thank you for sketching with me. It's very good for our brains. Have a great day. See you next time.